I'm not going to go into on-water operations. I'm not going into operational matters.
Scott Morrison first made his mark as a minister with a controversial policy of turning back asylum seeker boats where secrecy was part of the strategy.
I have no information within my folder here.
That trait seemed to resurface repeatedly once he moved on to the top job.
Prime Minister's office wouldn't tell reporters where he was.
There are rumours that he has gone to Hawaii.
Yes, he is overseas.
Dinner at the Rose Garden with an exclusive list of guests.
The Prime Minister had wanted to bring his friend and pastor Brian Houston of Hillsong Church.
It means it's gossip.
But not true.
It means it's gossip.
But after enduring a bruising election loss, many of his colleagues remain deeply unimpressed by his attempts to explain why he secretly appointed himself to 5 ministerial portfolios.
I understand the offence that some of my colleagues particularly have felt about this. I understand that, and I've apologised to them.
Some now think an apology to the Australian people is in order.
When you're talking about swearing into a ministerial portfolio, I don't think there's any reason for secrecy, and this was a mistake, and I think he should apologise for this level of secrecy, which I think was unwarranted and really hasn't been explained by any of the press conferences I've seen since that time.
In private, some members of the coalition are more scathing, saying the disregard for convention and attempt to centralise power is inexplicable and inexcusable, and as dangerous echoes of Donald Trump's administration. The opposition leader Peter Dutton, who has been getting grilled about this all week, unsurprisingly wants everyone to move on. But today he did pointedly call Scott Morrison's actions inappropriate.
Peter Dutton, he has expressed disappointment. The decision itself, based on what appears to be Section 63 and 64 of the Constitution, is a legal one. But of course the transparency and the not telling the relevant colleagues at the time is a great disappointment.
The argument that he's done nothing illegal is a meaningless argument. It's not about legality, it's about those conventions that were broken. And that has seriously undermined our democracy, our democratic process.
Former Liberal leader John Hewson famously lost the so-called unlosable election in 1993 and has long been critical of the direction of the coalition. He believes the revelations are consistent with the way Mr Morrison acted throughout his political career and expects this episode will have lasting implications for the way the opposition is viewed by the electorate.
It's hard to hold somebody like Morrison accountable for that when he's no longer Prime Minister. His argument is, I'm just the member for Cook. Well, I mean, it's a personal decision he should make. He should think long and hard. I mean, I think if you had any shame about what you'd done, you would be seriously considering resignation. But that is not his modus operandi.
In Mr Morrison's southern Sydney seat, there are a range of views about whether the former Prime Minister should stay in Parliament.
I don't really think that it was a bad thing that he did. He probably could have told a few more people what he was doing.
I think it's dangerous that someone can allocate themselves that many portfolios, so I think it's dangerous.
I saw him as a fake Sharks fan, I saw him as a fake Prime Minister. I don't think he was a strong Prime Minister at all, and this just validates my view with him and the secret ministries.
We're going to have a very quick look at Cook, because that's Scott Morrison's seat. It's not in doubt, of course.
It is a safe Liberal seat, but a by-election now would be costly for the party. There's a chance it could attract a high-profile independent, and the recently defeated Labor candidate has already indicated he'd be happy to stand again.
He didn't even turn up to Parliament in the first week, and the second week he went to sleep. So I think he should resign, do the honourable thing.
The people of Cook have decided in this election they want him as their local member, and if he's passionate about that community and still wants to be involved as a local member of Parliament, that's a very important role to play.
But if Mr Morrison remains in his job, that also poses some problems for the Liberal Party. The Greens are going to try to refer Mr Morrison to Parliament's Privileges Committee, while the government has several options for making life difficult for the opposition, so long as the former PM hangs around. Today, Anthony Albanese raised this issue without even being asked.
Thank you. Could I just make one further comment about Mr Morrison? It's the Australian people who were kept completely in the dark with this shadow government operating.
I think the bigger issue here is around this question of trust between elected members of Parliament and the community.
Darren Chester served in Scott Morrison's cabinet. His primary concern now is not any damage to the Coalition's legacy in office, but the way our national institutions are regarded.
One of the reasons Australia did so well during the pandemic is we have these public institutions, this willingness to respect the need to do things for a community, for each other, and a general awareness that politicians try to make the right decision for the whole community. So eroding that trust is a problem going forward if we're faced with other challenges like a pandemic. And wherever possible, governments need to be open with the community and tell the truth about things.